Hey there, everyone. It's Amy from the Creative Confidence Catch-Up here. Welcome to the podcast that's designed to inspire, motivate, and encourage you no matter where you are in your creative journey. Join us as we share insights, stories, and triumphs of individuals who have harnessed their creative confidence from discovering your unique voice to overcoming creative blocks. We'll delve into strategies to overcome any self-doubt you may have that can help propel you forward. So in today's Creative Confidence Catch-Up, today we're going to be talking with Mike Riddell. So would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, I'm Mike Riddell. I'm not from Stoke. I love the place. I work there. I've been made to feel very, very welcome. But I'm actually from Manchester. And my thing is I'm a currency developer, which sounds a little bit fancy for the job that I do, but we can come on to that. But I used to develop shopping centres. And now I develop a currency, a local currency. It's called the Stoke Pound. So that's me. I'm 58. I'm married with 2 kids, and I enjoy working with people like you, Amy.
That's brilliant. Oh, thanks, Mike. I enjoy working and connecting with you too. Has there been a time where all the visions that you've had and the goals that you've wanted to set yourself, has there been a time where you felt like you've been stuck or the confidence just hasn't been there?
I think if you ask anybody who succeeded in the end, if they've doubted themselves, the answer is obviously, there's always going to be times when you question your sanity. You question, you get knockbacks and frankly, they put you on your back. And it takes a lot of mental resilience, I think, to kind of pick yourself up and dust yourself down and, get back on the horse. But I think what happens is that the more it happens, the less impact it has. So it's like a muscle you develop.
Yeah.
But there's no doubt at all that it's bloody hard sometimes just to keep going in the face of, financial difficulties or personal challenges that we all face. But I think what you're demonstrating and evidencing is the spirit of keeping going, and I think there's an awful lot in that. If you feel really strongly about your thing, your art or your craft or whatever it is that you set your sights on, then I think it's just a question of you just got to make it happen one way or the other.
That's true. I like that. So in terms of getting back up and going, obviously in terms of support and community, that's something I suppose that you need in order to sometimes move yourself, because obviously if we get stuck in our ways, we're not going to get anywhere. Whereas if we have other people's perspectives, that's one way in which to move forward. So you were telling me the other week about a lady in Wigan. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Well, yeah, this lady in Wigan. This lady in Wigan, just to give you some perspective, she doesn't have any kids. She doesn't have any family. She's about 80. She's 80 now. So she's about 70 when I met her. And she ran a community centre in one of the toughest parts of Wigan, which is only about a mile away from the shopping centre that I developed. And what she was doing in this community centre was a loyalty scheme, to kind of thank her volunteers. Wow, that's innovative. Because at the time I was working on some sort of trying to figure out how to get people to come into Wigan Town Centre, where my shopping centre was, rather than going on the internet or going to Manchester or going to Bolton, which are all competing with Wigan. So how do you get people to come into Wigan? And I started researching loyalty schemes and reward schemes. And anyway, she was doing one, and I got introduced to her. So I thought, I've got to go and meet this woman, because there weren't many people doing that sort of thing. And when I went to meet her, I could walk from where the shopping centre was, and I got into this, estate essentially, and this, single story, relatively modern building was there, and eventually found my way to the office that she was in. It was raining outside, so it was all a bit steamed up, and there was 3 old dears there, just doing their business, and I was there from a meeting in the suit and the tie, and this was like a proper, frontline community place that dealt with people with all sorts of different issues. And I just it was so alien to the way I used to work, because we'd have a meeting and, you know, be quiet in a room and nobody would interrupt apart from somebody to say, do you want a cup of tea? So I couldn't quite get my head around the kind of busyness of it all. And we got the keys for this Barbara. Her name is Barbara Nettleton. I just wanted to find out more about her. And anyway, in about 15 minutes in the meeting, we got interrupted by this young woman who had, you know, peroxide blonde hair. I mean, she was screaming, Barbara, but, you know, she was absolutely distraught. They've got taking me kids, taking me kids, taking me kids. They've got me kids, they've got me kids, they've got me kids. You know, she was absolutely hysterical. I'm like, Jesus, you know, because I'd never seen anything like this before. I'm a chartered surveyor. Wow. And I didn't have a clue what was going on. But the way Barbara dealt with it, because obviously what happens is anybody who's having a traumatic experience, they run to the place of safety, and this is the place that they go to.
Ah,
And Barbara
right.
just goes, Pat, you know, get her a cup of coffee, take her next door. And Pat was the other old dear that was there. And I'm like, you know, absolutely blown away by what's just gone on. You know, some woman has just had her kids taken off her, and Barbara's just like, this is part of the course. Anyway, so we have our meeting, and, you know, I stopped going back to my shopping centre, which, by the way, had just been valued at £176 million.
Wow.
You know, they actually value it. There's a methodology, a valuation process that puts a figure on these assets, these financial assets. You can get more debt on them, basically. And it was £176 million. But as I left Barbara, I just said to her, you know, how do you get your funding for this sort of thing? You know, who pays for it? She says, oh, no, we don't. We're all volunteers. All volunteers, you know, we just do it because there's a need and nobody else is doing it. And I thought, flipping heck, you know, here I am wandering back to my shopping centre that's got these big walls around it. It's like a big fortress, really, compared to what her place was like. You know, it was completely different. And I just thought, well, what's the value of that place compared to the value of the place that I've just developed? Because the value to the community is immeasurable, really. But it was invaluable, but yeah, it wasn't funded. And here I was going back to this temple of consumerism, mindless consumerism. This is back in 2007, by the way. That, you know, that's only worth about £10 million now. I mean, literally, it's only worth about £10 million now. And so I just couldn't get my head around the fact that, you know, there we have a valuation methodology for bricks and mortar and shopping centres, but nothing at all for the social value that's created by community groups. And so that just taught me a lesson about value and valuation, and, you know, how we needed to find a way of persuading investors to invest in people like Barbara Nettleton and the places that these community groups exist to serve people in distress. You know, there's absolutely no investment going into those places, and far too much going into the wrong places. And so that introduced me to community. It changed my life, really, because after that, I'd seen the light. I mentally had taken off my shirt and my tie and began to kind of get on the campaigning road to see if I could apply my business know-how and knowledge to supporting community groups and good causes. Hence the reason I'm working in Stoke now.
That's amazing.
Once I'd taken off my, you know, my shirt and my tie and stuff, I was kind of exiled. I got exiled by the business community, which is fine. You know, I'm a much better person for it now. But that was an interesting kind of shift in being ostracized, shall we say? That was interesting.
So I suppose, like, going through that process, it's helped you kind of discover who you're about as well. And like I talk about, like, in one of the latest episodes, I talk about this idea of self-discovery, and I suppose go through in certain processes such as that you did with the lady in Wigan. It was that sort of thing that, having gone through that process, you learn more about the people who are around you and how you can serve them as well.
Yeah. So I had a breakdown. I had the subsequent 2 or 3 years. You know, I began to become. I was still in business, but I became very cynical about business.
Yes.
And began to sort of see through it and see what it was really about, which is like greed and self-serving rather than serving communities and being generous. So I had I'm bearing in mind I'm 58, Amy. So I've been through the highs and the lows. I was once worth 76 million pounds on paper, and then 2 years later, in 2009, I was worth minus 59 million pounds. So I've seen the highs and the lows
Yeah.
of business, and when you're worth a lot, people look up to you. They do. You just do. And when you're worth not a lot, people look down on you. So I just thought, I'm the same person because you put it on perspective and turn it around and you can see how people are. So I've been on my own personal journey and transition, if you like, from one state of mind to another state of mind, and I had a breakdown essentially. Well, I at the time my mates called it a breakdown. I just said, can I swear on here, Amy, or not?
You can. We can
Yeah,
sort
I
something.
just I, I
We
just
can
said,
clip it out or
"Oh, okay." I
something. We'll
just said,
find it.
look, do one right, do one. No, I'm gonna break up. I'm gonna break out. I'm gonna break through, which was that I realized that there was a different way of unlocking value and creating value, and that was just by having a different mindset completely. But that that was so I don't know 13 years ago, and at the time it was nobody was thinking like that. Nobody was thinking about a different mindset about how we relate to each other because everyone was like greed is good, give me
Yeah.
more money. And so I was this isn't I'm not trying to make out that I've been hard done to, but I'm back to your point is that I think everybody has got a breaking point, and there are certain experiences that break people, but it's not a bad thing because you do discover what you like on the other side.
It
You
becomes
do.
that thing, doesn't it? That light bulb moment, which is like, yeah, I've been through this, and this, but
Mm.
how come that we then stop other people going through it, etc.? Which,
I think, yeah, and I think it's so in a sense it's like therapeutic to kind of be able to hear people say that because they can
hmm
share the experience,
hmm
and somehow or other it validates experiences, and you don't feel as though you were the freak that
yeah,
people looked at you as if you were.
mm,
You're not. You're just ahead of the game and ahead of everybody else in that thinking. Yet you feel as though you're the one who's getting pointed at and stared because you're different.
yeah,
Um, but it is a voyage of discovery. Look, I think what I've discovered is that the fire, I call it a fire, when the fire happened, it didn't destroy me. It kind of tempered me. It was like
hmm
steel, so I was hardened by it. I was made a lot harder, but a lot softer at the
yes,
same time. And now, because it was a very scary psychological event for me anyway, not for anybody else, but just for me in my own mind. It terrified me, and I was taught a huge lesson, um, and it just made me, not scared of anything. So ever since then, this is about 2009. Ever since then, I've been able to have the confidence to just keep going and believe in myself, even though it hasn't been straightforward. And there's always moments of self doubt, even now. If I feel bad about something, if I'm down, it's easy to feel
oh
it's not
yeah.
going to happen. We all get those days, Amy. You'll get them. We all get them.
You go into a
Um,
spiral and it's making sure you don't go into that spiral of
yeah,
negativity, which
no, totally.
makes you carry on feeling that way.
But I do believe that you can train your mind.
Mm,
That you can look. I'm lucky that I don't believe that I've got any mental health issues. Although I have had episodes,
yeah.
but I don't have any. And I've had voices. I've had experience of that. Not many, thank goodness. I'm that lucky. Um, but I do think that it's possible to kind of coach yourself really. But it's easier when you've got other people to talk about it with.
Yeah.
Much easier. So I think what you're doing is a fabulous revelation about how we can coach ourselves to have a m- more resilient mindset.
Thank you. So in terms of like this and where you're heading now and stuff, with your newfound confidence, I suppose you could call it, as the result of community and finding who you are and things,
Yeah.
would you say that how would you find your initiatives, projects, how are they going now? And can you tell us a bit about those?
Well, last week we had, okay, so I'm developing a new a currency. It's an alternative. It's a locally issued community credit. So basically, it works on it's a bit like Tesco Club Card points.
All
So
right, yeah.
if you've got a Tesco, they'll thank you with the Club Card points. Just internet points they are. But what's interesting about Tesco Club Card points is that you can get discounts at Tesco, but you can also get discounts at Alton Towers or Pizza Express. So that's an interesting model. But the point is that these internet points can be doled out by Tesco anytime they want for as much as they want or not. So the idea is to kind of copycat that and issue our own points, internet points, to people who choose to contribute their time rather than wasting it. So that's basically and it's called the Stoke Pound. So for every hour you give as a volunteer, you get 15 Stoke Pounds. Now, this is the theory of it. So it's kind of quite esoteric, it's abstract. It's hard to get your head around. So much so we've had to produce some little tokens just to kind of demonstrate to people how it works. But anyway, after quite a few years, it's beginning to kind of pick up, and there's a whole bunch of us now involved in this. And we've created a company. Well, it's actually a community benefit society. So a bit like a cooperative society, it's the same sort of model. It's owned by the people, for the people, for the benefit of the people. We're beginning to get recognised, not just within Stoke, but across the country, really, by anyone who's interested in regeneration, really, because what we're trying to do is to regenerate a local economy, Stoke's local economy, without any financial capital. So we're all volunteers. We're looking to do, we're looking to regenerate without government funding. We're looking to regenerate without private sector funding. We want to do it on our terms of the community, rather than the terms of business or the terms of government, because the person who pays the piper calls the tune. Well, we're not getting paid, so we can call our own tune. But the point is that we're beginning to prove not just to ourselves that we're onto something, but to others as well. And the hackathon we had last Tuesday at Staff's Uni was evidence of that, where we brought together about 50 people, including Joe Gideon, who's the MP for Stoke Central, and a bunch of other dignitaries and VIPs, to essentially discuss ways that we can tackle and address poverty. There's an awful lot of research that's been carried out by Staff's Uni in particular around poverty, and have been doing through what's called the Hardship Commission since 2015, to a report after report after report after report about the poverty in Stoke, which is fine. But, okay, there's poverty in Stoke. What we're going to do about it? So that was the point of the hackathon, was to challenge everybody in the room to say, we know what the problem is, but what's the solution? And that was a successful event for us, because it was, it's led to Keele University wanting to work with us to produce a digital Stoke Pound, which
Amazing.
They've got this idea for a cryptocurrency. We're yet to be convinced about crypto, but we'll give it a spin, see where it takes us. But I think that's just evidence of the fact that we're getting somewhere. So it's very hard for us to be able to give any concrete proof that we're getting somewhere. There's no office yet. There's a bit of a website, but it's still all working. We're not funded. So we're very much relying on everybody's goodwill to see us through. But put it this way, Amy, when we had the idea back in 2007, and that was 16 years ago, we're still at the crease. We still know it's going to be a solution for economies like Stoke.
And that's the thing. That's the thing. It's great to see like initiatives such as that kind of being trialed and tested out, and then seeing what works and getting the community involved, because there's no point creating something which isn't going to be of value to the community, because if it's not what the people need or what the people want, then how's it going to lift off? And it is about community at the end of the day, isn't it?
It has to be. I mean, if there's any, you name one problem and I'll give you the solution to it. I'll tell you what it is. It's just more community.
Yeah.
You know, if you've got a mental health problem, what's the solution? More community. Go out and, you know, meet people and make community. Any problem you can come up with pretty much is solvable through two words: more community. Make more community. So the secret to a happy and healthy and a wealthy life is just more community. Simple as that. It stops wars. It stops famine. Stops poverty. You know, and we'll prove all of this. I'm convinced. I'm convinced we'll do it, and in my lifetime as well. And so, yeah, the point is that for way too long, you know, communities have been looked down upon by the by people who hold the purse strings. So whether it's politicians or it's business people, you know, they've just not really trusted the community to be a part of the solution, and that's
But
what's called the problem.
it might be because they know they have the solution to the problem. And that's
Well, you know,
could be.
look, I think that the kind of stuff we're finding out about the economics, the political decisions behind the economic decisions and the economic policies. Austerity, we're beginning to realize is a political choice. And you know, for a place like Stoke, you know, it's easy for a politician to have a view, a theoretical view on how to run an economy. If you're based, you know, not in a place that is going to be impacted by that policy decision.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't live in Stoke, but the policies that you make affect Stoke, you're insulated from the effects of your decision.
Yeah.
And that's not good.
No.
That isn't good. That isn't healthy. And that's why there is such a kind of distance between policymakers and, you know,
That's
those in power.
disconnect, isn't it? There's no
huge disconnect. But it's not just government, and this isn't. I'm not having to go at government here on their own. I'm having to go at businesses as well. You know, businesses, the biggest businesses in the world, are just rendering the best of us up to their money cloud and leaving all the shit behind for everybody else to deal with. And government isn't protecting us. And so it's really, you know, it's quite profound when, you know, we've decided that we need to make a stand by creating our own organization to defend ourselves and protect our interests from businesses, because government isn't. So
someone's got to do it.
Someone's got to do it. And, you know, if we don't get together ourselves, Amy, and treat each other as equals, right? And that's the secret, is to see each other as equals in a mission, than to get the job done. You know, it's just not possible. So you have to have a different approach to getting work done. You know, you have to start measuring work in a different way, and you have to see volunteering in common cause as work that's just unpaid. It's unpaid labor. All we're saying is we're just going to measure that, and we're going to start championing that and persuade businesses to accept it as a token in exchange for something that they're going to be wasting, because we're not wasting our time by doing nothing. We might not have a job, but we're not wasting our time. We're volunteering to the cause. So
that's great.
It's really about being more sustainable, and I think that's where the work that you're doing is interesting, because we're big believers in not in net zero carbon, because what does that mean? Even?
Yeah. It gets very complex, doesn't it?
Oh, well, totally, yeah. And it's just inaccessible, but zero waste. You know, you do it. You get your wire and stuff that's discarded from a building sign, turn it into a thing you can buy. You know,
like I said, I've said before, like so many people, like everybody will waste in some way or another, but it's about taking that first step to see what opportunities it could bring. And if that brings value to other people in regards to an artifact, art object, etc., then surely that's better than it being in landfill. So that's my take on it, really.
Well, there is value in that, definitely, but also think about the opportunity for somebody who might have a mental health problem, and if they were given the opportunity of being creative about waste, you know, turn the waste into something else using your creative powers, that is a good for your mental health. So there's value in that. And if you can sell it at the end of the day, well, there's more value to be had there as well. And also, don't forget, the economy benefits when people come together to create things and make things. But if you're focused on eliminating waste in all its forms, not just the kind of waste you put in the bin, then you'll have a different perspective on the job that needs doing. Waste is what holds us back, and waste is just the opposite of sustainability. So
I love that.
Two sides of the same coin. And places like Stoke, there's so much human potential being wasted. Honestly, just because you're born in Stoke, it's not fair. It's just not fair that the system isn't responding to the growing levels of poverty and ill health. It's a disgrace that nobody is doing anything about it. And that's why we getting organized to fix our own problems, Amy. And when we fixed our own problems, right, we're going to flog them to everybody else outside of Stoke and go,
see how they can use them and create potential opportunities for themselves. I love it. It's so good.
Just 10%, just 10% of your takings, right? You give it back to us, and we'll give you everything else you need. Our systems, our know-how, our operating platform, our currency. You can even call it what you want.
So as we come to the end of this week's podcast, I was wondering if you've got any words of encouragement or words of wisdom that you think might be inspiring to others.
Words of wisdom to anybody in particular, or to
just anybody? If there's anything that you think's inspiring or encouraging, yeah.
Well, look, I've got 6 words that I kind of live my life by.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as, I'll come to those in a second. But I think the only way to make change happen is just to go out and do it. And what you're doing is a really great case in point. You've had this idea about using media as a way of being creative, and a way of getting a message out there. And it's persistence and determination that's getting you through this. So I just want to say, keep going, girl, because
thanks so much. No, that's really nice. Thanks, Mike.
It's really important that you get the feedback, though, because I know from my own mental well-being that it's a good thing what you're doing, and you just need to be recognized and seen for your continuation of it. So that's all I want to say. I've got 6 words, and it's like, work hard. So keep putting a shift, keep doing it, don't work hard, find love, whether it's a love for your work or a love for a partner or a love for something, just find love, because it's a beautiful thing. And just be kind, just be kind, be a good person, be generous. Don't be a tight ass. If you've got it to give it, especially if somebody asks for it. And if it's going, just give it, because that's how you get. It really is. You cannot receive unless you give. And I think you have to give before you get. That, to me, is the kind of way that it works. It's the universe. It's just how it's set up.
Meant to be.
Meant to be. And look, you're a giving person, I think, and you're a grafter, and and I think you're developing a love. I didn't find love until I got married, and that was when I was 30, right? So I didn't have a clue what it looked like, because just a lad, loved by his mum, but it wasn't until I'd met somebody else who loved me I was able to triangulate. So that finding love was a brilliant thing, and I haven't let go of that, and it's made my life richer as a result. So. But work hard, find love, and be kind. And I think, if I needed to boil everything, my 58 years of experience down into 6 words, those are the 6 words that I would boil it down into.
Well, thanks so much for coming on today, Mike. It's been really great speaking to you and finding insights, etc. And hopefully will be of value to other people out there. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Amy.
Brilliant.
Peace
Thank you.